Hi, I'm Wendy Jackson, and this is Best Friends on Four Legs. People exercise to stay healthy, but how do we get our best friends to start exercising to stay in good health? Today I'm talking to Amber Marcoux. She's the Community Outreach Director for Halifax Humane Society, and Cindy Walsh, who is an Animal Behavior Manager at Halifax, and she's also a certified professional trainer for dogs. We also have another special guest. His name is Charlie. And he is a Halifax alumni and currently Cindy's dog. And he's going to help us demonstrate some tricks and training today. Cindy, tell me a little bit about what kind of dog Charlie is.
Charlie is a mix, and it's just a guess unless we do a DNA test. But he looks a lot like a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel mixed with probably a Cocker Spaniel. So.
And how long have you had Charlie?
I've had him about a year and a half now.
I guess we should explain, these ladies work at Halifax Humane Society, and animals that are picked up, lost in the city of Deltona, we take them to Halifax and hopefully they get adopted or returned to their owner. They get medical treatment and a good place to spend the night until they can be reunited or adopted. But that's why we have a partnership with Halifax, and that's why these ladies have agreed to join us for our show. We're going to talk a little bit today about how do we keep our pets healthy, and Cindy's going to tell me a little bit about, is it important to exercise with your pet?
It's very important to exercise your dogs, and there's several ways to do it. You can exercise through walking and through playing with toys, and a really important thing people overlook a lot is mental exercise for a dog. So it's not good for a dog to just lay around all day and not be trained, not have any training. Dogs actually really enjoy positive training methods because it involves treats and petting and toys. So it keeps their mind sharp. When I got Charlie, for example, he had a lot of fear issues. He was a little bit of a biter. He was not housebroken. But he's been a joy just to work with and train, and he's a bit of a character. Amber and I work in the same office, and she's just getting to know Charlie. But
so if you've never exercised with your dog before, how do you get started?
A good way to get started is I do group classes. So if you have, a lot of people start off with a dog with good intentions of walking, but walking can be a real trial for animals, for owners and their dog, because the dog pulls, or they crisscross, or they go after other animals or squirrels.
Which you shouldn't, that's not acceptable, right?
It's not.
You could do better.
You really want to have better control of your animal, and through training, you can learn how to actually distract your dog's mind, because dogs are thinking animals. We don't want to just train them through punishment, because that's the way we respond to punishment. If we're driving and we see a policeman, we all just, even if we're going the speed limit, we slow down. Mm-hmm. It's just a response to not wanting the punishment of a fine. Dogs respond to punishment in that same way. So if the person that they're afraid of is there, they obey. But once that punisher is not there, the dog's not trained because the mind wasn't trained.
That's a good example.
Yeah, so we want to really train our dogs' minds. And there are a lot of walking methods we can use with our dog. One of the best things to do is when your dog pulls out ahead of you, stop moving. Because for a dog on a walk, moving forward is a reward. So if we continue walking and the dog's pulling, we're rewarding the dog with every single step. And when a dog's rewarded in any behavior, that behavior becomes consistent. So we want to stop, change directions, call the dog back to us, use treats. So whatever we do, we want to work with the dog's brain and not just jerk our dogs around.
So Cindy, you're walking with your dog and there's a squirrel, cat, something that they lunge for. What's your response?
Well, the first response people normally have is to start yelling and jerk their dog, because it's a human response. And to say, no, no, no. But actually your dog hears your pitch going up and your excitement level, and your dog's excited, and now you're excited, and in the dog's mind, you're both really excited about the squirrel or the other dog, and it's just to them a big game. So what we want to do is very calmly call our dog back to us. And if you've worked with your dog at home, you can, with a training treat, I'm going to demo with Charlie. You can put your dog in a sit and point to your eye and say to your dog, watch or focus. Yes. And then feed him while he's got his eyes on you, and continue feeding till the distraction is gone. Or now that your dog's focused back on you, just turn and walk in the opposite direction, or keep him focused. You want to have also a moving focus. So if I were to stand up and point at my eye while I'm walking, my dog would continue to have eye contact with me until I'm past the problem, and then he'd be rewarded for the treat. High five.
Awesome, Charlie. So you talked a little bit about exercising or training their brains as well. Can you suggest some pet toys that might help with that?
Yeah, so there's different kind of toys on the market. And a lot of times I go into homes for private lessons, and I'll ask if the dog likes toys, and they tell me, no, the dog has all these toys, and they'll present, I can see the basket in the corner overflowing with every toy on earth because they really want their dogs to play. But there are dog toys that dogs need to be played with. Squeaky toys, plush toys, tennis balls. And those are great because those build a bond with the owner and the dog. You can teach your dog to retrieve. But they also need the type of toys that they can use their mind. So there are a lot of puzzle toys out now. They have like little doors and things with treats under them, and the dog has to use his nose or has to flip a switch with his paw. He has to figure out how to get that treat out of there. There's even a game I've seen where the dog actually goes over to a device and pushes it, and it throws a ball for dogs who love to retrieve. There's also things like Kongs. They're the beehive-looking things. You've probably seen them if you've been in any pet store. And you can stuff those with a little bit of peanut butter and kibble. Jam that all in there like a pasty.
He knows what peanut butter means.
He's still focusing. And then you can leave that with your dog. That's the kind of toy you leave with your dog, because it's going to work. He has to work hard to get that food out. He's got to lick it out. He's got to hold it between his paws. And it makes the brain tired. So if we exercise the dog's brain, he's less likely to chew a hole in your couch, because there are certain anxieties. People have labeled everything anxiety now, but we have to be careful with that. Some of it is just plain boredom. The dog's not been exercised enough or played with enough, and so that energy level has to be burned off somewhere. So nothing like ripping up a couch, right? So, so that's what we don't want dogs to do. Charlie, look, face the camera so people can see your pretty face.
We were talking a little bit earlier about when you have to go to work and you leave your pet at home. Are there things you should be doing to prepare for them being separated from you for the long work day? Do you have any tips?
Yes. A lot of people will, for example, they'll adopt a dog over the weekend, and then they're home with that dog the whole weekend. Then suddenly Monday morning, everybody disappears. And if it's a dog who's been abandoned once, he's not sure that those owners are going to come back. So then the dog feels some level of anxiety. So we should practice leaving when we get the dog. Leave for 10 minutes and come back. We want to build in the dog's mind that the owner's going to return. Also, with coming and going, we don't want to do this. It's okay, I'm going to leave now, but you're going to be fine. Just go play with your toys. Have this conversation with your dog. I'm so sorry, I'm leaving. We want to instead couple leaving with, it's so much fun when you leave because I get something special. I used to be home with my dogs. I worked from my house, and then I went out in 2012 to the Humane Society full time. So I was leaving my dogs at home, and they had some level of anxiety about it. So when I would get my sneakers out, because that's what I wore to work, your dogs know every single pattern in your life. When you pick up your keys, when you put on your lipstick, when you put what shoes you go out in, like I'm barefoot at home. But my dogs know if I'm getting shoes out, I'm most likely leaving. So I coupled my shoes with a little dog biscuit. I put peanut butter on it, set it on the counter while my shoes were on. And so now when my dogs would see my shoes, they would associate it to the cookie with peanut butter, so they can't wait for me to leave. Also, I left them with stuffed Kongs and things to do. With scent dogs, you can actually teach your dog to find hidden things. So you can hide treats all around the house and tell your dog, go find it. And they run around finding things. But the practicing leaving to not build patterns in your dog's life. If you build a wrong expectation that you're always going to be there, then the dog expects that. And when the pattern changes, that's what causes some of the anxiety. So we can practice leaving. We can leave 10 minutes, then 30 minutes, then an hour. It's good for a dog to have a crate and to be crate trained. Over time, you want the dog to get more and more territory in the house. So you might want to just put a gate somewhere and leave them in access to a couple of rooms. And then you can build it up to more and more space. The smaller the space, the den-like space, makes a dog feel more secure. A lot of people have the wrong idea about crates, like they think it's a prison and it's so cruel and that, but it's really, that's not how dogs think of it. It's how we would think of it if someone stuck us in a cage all day. And I do think if you're gone at a full 8 hours, you need to have a plan to let that dog have a break in the afternoon. Like have a friend come over, walk your dog, or hire a dog walker, or take your dog some days to a doggy daycare. But just have a plan for your dog to get some relief if he is crated all day. Most dogs grow to be reliable.
So as soon as you get home, that's important to get them out and walk them if they've been home for a while.
Yes, so it's so important. And to not make a huge fuss when you come in. It sends the wrong message again to your dog. So you want to just come in and walk past your dog. Go put your stuff down. Go act like you don't have a dog. When the dog calms down, then pay attention to the dog at that point.
That's good to know.
Yeah, because often we come home and we're, we make such a big fuss. But in a dog's world, the person who's the leader comes and goes as they please, and they don't acknowledge anybody. So by overly acknowledging our animal, we can cause anxiety in our dog that way too. So we should just come and go. Most dogs will be fine. Not all dogs will even have anxiety. Charlie's asking for another treat.
Do you have a recommendation about how much or how far to walk or time frame, like to keep them healthy?
Yeah, with a young dog, you can walk really far. And in the walk, I'll just give you a quick walking tip. While you're walking with your dog, every 6, 7, 8 steps, ask your dog to sit and focus. The reason is it breaks up his brain level. So if the dog's walking along, you want the dog to continue to engage with you and not with squirrels and other things. But a young dog like Charlie could walk quite a ways. He will walk and walk and walk. But I have an 8-year-old at home that can only just walk a little bit because she's getting a little bit of arthritis. So we have to be sensitive to the dog's age. And also, bringing up age, this is something at the Humane Society, we have the Meet Your Match program because we all get older and we remember that dog we had as a puppy, and how great it was. We don't remember that the dog we have now that just perhaps passed away, that dog was years and years getting those good behaviors, but a puppy's a lot of work and a high energy level. So if you've gotten to an age where maybe you're not as agile as you were, it's a great, great thing to adopt an adult dog that is also in the same stage of life you are as far as energy levels. So just to take that consideration.
Speaking about puppies, do you have any, I can't get this dog to stop chewing advice? Like, it chews everything, my shoes, my...
Yeah, puppies use their teeth like a hand. So they're just exploring their world with their mouths. So we want with our puppies to be sure we're providing them with things to chew because their teeth hurt. Some puppies really like Nylabones. You don't want to get things that are so hard that they're going to break the puppy's teeth. But Nylabones, again with a Kong, those kinds of things that they can actually gnaw on. Some people freeze their Kongs So they freeze all the stuff in it. So when the puppy's getting it out, it's soothing the gums. You could also do the little ice cube, like popsicles. You can freeze peanut butter and kibble in a popsicle manner, and just let your puppy have that to chew on.
But it will get better eventually, right?
Yes, yes. And that you should not let them bite your skin as a habit. That's just putting a bad precedent for, later in life when you're not going to want those teeth on your skin. So we just want to say, ow, like it hurt. And then we can also rub peanut butter on our hand, and while they're licking it, that's what we did with Charlie. We did, be nice.
It's oh.
Yeah, be nice, Charlie. And have him lick instead of bite. So he used to be a little nipper too. So we did those methods with him, the peanut butter, and told him, be nice. And then when he would do teeth, we'd say, be nice. And he'd go back to licking. But really with the puppy, it's just providing the right things for that puppy. And if the puppy gets out of control, then you want to put the puppy in a crate, not as a punishment. People get confused, but just as a timeout, 1 minute in the crate for the way you are, or just stand up and walk out of the room because now he's lost his playmate and his treats and his toys.
Harsh.
Yeah, so it is. It's a little bit of social rejection for wrong behaviors, but that's what dogs do to each other, so it's fine.
I know Charlie's going to demonstrate some tricks for us, but if I adopted a dog or I have an older dog, can you teach an old dog new tricks? Or
of course.
Do you have to?
You can always teach a dog obedience. Dogs go through social stages in life, so you can't reset a social skill for a dog. If a dog grew up having bad associations with cats, my dog's first introduction to a cat, she was a puppy, and the cat swatted her across her nose, and from that point on, she knew that cats were horrible. And so she would never be with a cat again, and I would never put a cat through it. But so those associations when they're puppies is so important because you're setting their social ability. But any dog can learn obedience. So obedience is separate from behavior. People get that a little mixed up. Like Charlie's behaving naughty, like he's begging right now. But that's I can fix that with obedience training. If he decided that he didn't like women, then I have to control that.
Oh.
I have to control that for life. But so obedience and behavior are a little bit different. But yes, old dogs can definitely learn
New stuff
all the time. Yeah.
And how long should I expect to have to repeat a training or, in order to get it to stick?
Okay, so this is a good question. It's another confusion. A lot of people don't want to use food lures, right? They're like, I don't want to have to be giving my dog treats my whole life. I'm not going to be carrying treats around. And exactly, you're not. But once a dog is trained, then they'll do, Charlie to do his twirl. Twirl. Do your good one. Twirl. And then I can reward him after. When I taught Charlie to twirl, though, I did it in stages with a treat to his nose. I started out just like this. Now he's going to be awkward because we're here. Yeah, that's how I started with the lure. Now, if I continued every time I did that to keep that treat alive, he would only do it when there was a treat present because he would become a briber. Mm-hmm. But instead, when time went by, I faded the treats out so that he'll do whatever I ask. Charlie, twirl. Sit. Down. Roll over.
He knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm. Shake. High five. Charlie will do all of his tricks and obedience without treats because he's been weaned off of treats. I am a softie, so I love treating him. So I still reward him when he's so good. And it's just like if we were getting a paycheck. If your boss came and they said, that was a great interview, good job. We're going to reduce your check by 50 cents an hour because you did so well. The dog's paycheck in life is petting, toys, and treats. Eat, sleep, play. That's a dog's life. So if we take that away, it's like us not getting a paycheck either.
Right.
So, gosh, just be generous with your dogs.
Right.
Be willing to really treat them and pet them and love them. But if they don't do the obedience, don't say, oh, you tried so hard, and then give them a trick.
Right.
Because that's confusing to a dog.
Right.
They live in the black and white, that whole gray that we have. No, it doesn't exist for them.
Right.
They don't understand it.
So how long
Down.
would you have been working with Charlie before he was able to like twirl or?
That's not a fair question for people.
Okay.
Because I'm a trainer.
Right.
It would take me like 5 minutes, 10 to teach them that and to have it stick.
Right.
But somebody novice, really, it doesn't take that long. It's consistency.
Right.
And being really clear on what you're asking the dog. And hand signals first before, if we say to a dog, sit, 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 and the dog doesn't know sit, it's as if I were speaking French to you.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how many times I repeated a word, you wouldn't get it.
Right.
So by repeating commands to a dog, it's just confusing. What they understand is body language. They speak with their bodies. So hand signaling is a far greater communication with a dog. I wouldn't have to even speak to him, really. Yes. So I'm always going to mark the behavior too with yes or. I like to say yes more than good because we always tell our dogs they're good, right?
Right.
Even if they're being so naughty. But
If somebody wanted some help, Amber, with the obedience classes or training, can Halifax help out with that?
Absolutely, yeah. So Cindy does offer, like she had said, in-home obedience training as well as classes as well. The classes, do you want to talk a little bit about your?
sure. The group classes are on Saturday mornings. I have 2 classes. I have a 30 pounds and under. That includes puppies. And then I have a mixed, big dogs, small dogs, young dogs, just a mix. I find a lot of pet owners with small dogs are a little nervous around the large dogs, so I like to provide that. And the classes are 4 weeks, and then they're $45 for 4 weeks of training. I go over all of basic, and I couple it with behavior. So I like people to understand not just how to fix what their dog did, but why they did it. What's the core reason behind that behavior so that the owner can be more successful. So it's really helping the owner understand how a dog thinks so they can realize, my dog wasn't being spiteful. That's not a component to a dog. My dog was giving appeasement signals for going to the bathroom. You know,
Right.
They've learned that owners and poop aren't a good combination, so they go hide. And a lot of people mistake that for guilt. It's actually fear and appeasement because dogs go to the bathroom because they have to, and there wasn't another solution. And if they do get disciplined enough for it, then they learn to hide it. That's where people find it under the bed or in the corner.
Oh dear.
So it's really important that when you're teaching behavior, you're also communicating to the owner, like, why does the dog do that? And why did he react the way he did to what you did? Like, a lot of owners will grab their dog's collar and pull him off a couch. And that's just not, a lot of owners get bitten, I should say, when they grab their dog's collar and pull him off. Because they've taken the flight mechanism away and they've only left a fight mechanism. So the dog's fighting against that being pulled.
Right.
So there's a lot of things like that we go over in class. And I really try to equip everybody with understanding dog behavior itself, so go beyond obedience. And I do in-home training as well, private lessons.
Cool. And now you're going to teach us a little bit about walking?
Yes, I'll demo a little bit with Charlie. Charlie was quite a puller, and he shredded quite a few leashes when I had first gotten him. But now he's pretty great at it. And again, we want to give dog choices when they walk. A lot of times, if I'm going to get my dog and I'm going to go, Charlie, come here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to jerk him right next to me. I'm taking his choice away. So he's not choosing to be next to me. He's being forced to be beside me. I want him to want to walk with me, which is the state he's in. But he got there by the constant interruptions. So I'm going to show you how to have interruptions in your walk. Okay? Charlie, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Charlie, let's go. Every time I turn, I'm going to say let's go to him, redirecting him. Let's go. Good boy.
Good boy, Charlie.
So when you're starting off, a lot of people like lose heart. It's also great to have.
I was going to ask you about some equipment options. There's so much when you go into a pet store, like leashes and collars.
And I don't use any choke, or some people call them check chains, or pinch collars, because again, I don't want to punish my dog. I want my dog to make right choices. And a lot of people feel like, well, my dog pulls so hard. And the reason on a collar that a dog is going to pull more is because of the opposition reflex in the throat. So that's a whole other teaching. But the dog has that. So when I pull back, the dog pulls forward. It's just an automatic reflex. So if I have a dog, and when Charlie wasn't trained, I used, I love these Easy Walk harnesses, and we sell them at the Humane Society for a really, really sharp decrease. We have a great sales on these things because we just want people to keep their dogs in their homes. Charlie, it's just a simple thing. You just put it around his neck, and then it snaps on in one snap, and then the leash goes off the collar and onto the harness instead. Oops, got a little tangled there. Onto the harness. The reason this works, it takes the throat out of play completely, and it steers the body. It also changes the center of gravity. So now I'm just steering my dog's body. So when he pulls ahead, I just stop, and the harness spins the dog back around. Come here, Charlie. Sit. Stay. Bye-bye.
I'm Wendy Jackson, and that's it for another episode of Best Friends with Four Legs.